Principles of management. What is a principle? Principle is any statement that tells us a truth about any phenomena that's based on a cause and its effects relationship. Okay, so in this chapter we are going to study about the principles of management. Okay, now see, first we are going to study about the principles that are given by F.W. Taylor. Who was F.W. Taylor? He was an American mechanical engineer and he gave all the principles of scientific management. Next, we are going to study about principles of Henry Fayol. He was a French mining engineer and he gave all the administrative principles that we are going to study about in this chapter. Okay, so now see, principles of management are not like the principles of pure science. Why? Pure science, like if pure science tells us hydrogen and oxygen meet, then they have to create water. Okay, but it's not like that. Principles of management do not tell us that okay, if you increase the salary of an employee, then the employee is bound to perform better. Okay, he will perform better. It's nothing like that. Okay, so it's not as rigid because in principles of management we generally deal with human beings. Okay, and you can never tell the behavior of a human being because it's always different with every other human being and depending on the situation. So principles of management are to be applied creatively. Okay, they're not as rigid as the principles of pure science. Now they're not even techniques. What are techniques? Techniques are the methods that involve a series of steps that we take to accomplish a desired goal. Like see, functional foremanship is a technique. Okay, it tells us okay, there should be 8 boss, he'll do this, he'll do this, he'll do this. But now there's a principle of division of work. Division of work just tells us that the work is to be divided. But how exactly should we divide it so that we can accomplish our goal properly? That functional foremanship tells us. So functional foremanship is a technique, whereas division of work is a principle. Okay, now see, techniques are less flexible because techniques are supposed to be applied that way, but principles are very flexible. We can change them according to the situation that's prevailing. Now, principles are not even values. What are values? Values are some general rules that are formed by the behavior of an individual because of common practice. Values are basically ethical in nature, but principles of management they are formed after deep research work. Okay, principles of management are technical in nature, whereas values are ethical in nature. Now, see, how are these principles derived? Their derivation is a matter of science because they are derived by experimentation and observation, whereas we creatively apply them. So that is regarded as art. Okay, so principles of management have characteristics little both of science and of art. Now let us first look at the natures of principles of management. What is the nature of principle of management? First, it's universally applicable. What does it mean? It means it's applicable to all kinds of organization. Okay, political, non-political, economic, social, any organization it's applicable to. Just the extent of applicability is different. Like in a business that has very large operations, the principles of management will be applicable to a larger extent, whereas which are small operations, it will not be so much applicable. It will still be applicable. Okay, the next, it's general guidelines. They're not like okay, we tell you to do this, if you'll do this exactly this is going to happen. No, they're not ready-made solution to any problem. Okay, they're just general guidelines that okay, if you'll do this maybe this can happen, because real business situations are very complex and dynamic, so we can never tell okay, if we'll do this exactly this is going to happen. So they're just general guidelines, they're not ready-made jacket like solutions, and they're formed after practice and by experimentation. How are principles formed? They are formed by proper research work, by practice of scholars, by experimenting, by observing. Okay, so proper experiments and observations are conducted before the principles are developed. Now the principles are flexible. What does it mean? It means that principles are applied differently under different situations. It's not like okay, if they tell that the principle is this, it's supposed to be exactly this and you cannot modify it according to your needs. Okay, it's nothing like that. It can be applied differently under different conditions according to the requirement of our company. It can be modified by the manager whenever the situation demands for. Okay, now see, principles of management are mainly behavioral. What does it mean? Mainly the principles of management are regarding dealing with human beings. Okay, like if you tell this to an employee, this will be his reaction. If you will cooperate, he'll cooperate back. Okay, like these are the principles of management. It's not like they do not consider things a phenomena at all. It's just that they emphasize more on human behavior. Okay, like orderliness, it tells about orderliness is when men and material both are in its place. Okay, so when both the movement of men and the movement of material will be correct, then the orderliness will be established. Okay, Now see, principles of management are based on cause and effect relationship. Means they tell us, okay, if you will do this, then it's most likely that this is going to happen. But they do not tell us accurately that this is going to happen. They do not exactly tell us if you'll do this, surely this is going to happen. But they give a probability that yeah, there are maximum possible chances that if you're going to do this, then this is going to happen. Okay, so this based on cause and effect relationship, they determine the cause and effect relationship. And next, the contingent. Contingent means the application is dependent on the situation that is prevailing in the organization at the current moment. It's not like, okay, it has to be applied like this, then it has to be applied like this. It depends on the situation that is there, according to which it is applied every time. Like, see, there's a principle of fair remuneration. Okay, fair remuneration means fair salary to all the employees. But what is fair? How much is fair under which condition? It will be determined by the situation, how much they are working, what are their qualifications, what is the minimum wages act right now, what is the paying capacity of the company. So look, it's all dependent on the situation of the company right now. Okay. Now next we're going to look at significance or importance of our principles of management. Now first importance is they provide managers with useful insights into reality. Means they tell them, okay, this can happen in the real world situation. Okay, so they give us an idea, they give managers an idea about the real world situations. Okay, and using these principles add to the manager's knowledge, ability, understanding of the managerial situation. And if they use this principle, then the managers learn from their past mistake, and they can also solve a problem more effectively and efficiently in taking less time to solve it. And using the principles of management to deal with managerial problems also increases the efficiency of an organization. The next, optimum utilization of resources and effective administration. What does it mean to optimally utilize resources? It means in the minimum possible input, we get the maximum possible output. It means in the minimum cost, we get the maximum benefit. That means optimum utilization of resources. Now, see, if we'll use principles of management, all activities will be planned, all our men and material will be systematic. We can see the cause and effect relationship of things. So because we can see the cause and effect relationship of things, wastage will be minimized because we'll not be using the trial and error approach. And our decisions and actions will be accurate, and there will be no personal prejudice or bias if we use the principles of management. So basically, we'll optimally utilize resources, and the administration is definitely going to be effective. Next, scientific decision. Look, principles of management do not tell us to take any decision on the basis of blind faith, on the basis of our past practices or anything. It's all scientific. Okay, it tells us that if we follow the principles of management, then our decisions are going to be based on facts and figures. They're going to be thoughtful. We're going to take them on time. They're going to be realistic. Okay, and we can even measure them, evaluate them, and tell, okay, if they're working or they're not working. So principles help us to take thoughtful, systematic, and scientific decisions. Okay, the decisions are basically going to be logical. Next, they help us to meet changing environment requirements. Look, our environment is ever changing. We know it. It's a very dynamic environment. Anytime, anything can change, anything can happen. So there's just general guidelines, okay, principles of management, and they can be modified to suit the changing requirement of the environment. Okay, it's not like if it has to be used like this, it has to be used like this. If the situation has changed, then we can modify the principle of management to be used according to the current situation. So it's flexible enough to adapt the changing environment. Okay, like see, first division of work was only meant to dividing work between different departments, but now it has even gone to outsourcing. Means where people give the non-core activities to some different organization to perform. Okay, nowadays some organizations are also giving the core activities to different organizations, like producing, packaging, or marketing. Okay, next, they help in fulfilling social responsibility. See, principles, they guide the managers in such a manner that managers perform social responsibility. Like there's this principle of equity which tells them not to discriminate. There's this principle of fair remuneration. So all these principles help managers take a step towards social responsibility. Last, managers training, education, and research. Look, principles of management are the base for they're the base. Okay, they're the core of management theory, for management training, for management education, and for management research. In courses like BBA, MBA, we use principles of management. They teach you principles of management. Okay, and so these are the basics. They act as base of research and development for management studies.